guys, so I feel like I should definitely explain why there isn't a part 3 and like final to the Bibliothon, because this is like literally the last video. So I did film a little bit. I was starting to get in like a burnout time, I guess, where I was just feeling super exhausted with the show and everything, and like having to do all that work and also trying to read 8 books. So I filmed, but like I looked back at the footage and I was like, I don't want to make this a video. But just know that it was a lot of having to deal with guys with my AC dripping from my ceiling and doing work in the shop all the time and being super exhausted to where I barely felt like I wanted to read anymore. Going away from that though, this is a video on how I did for the readathon, and I think I did pretty well, so let's just get on with it. I'm gonna start off with the books that I did end up finishing, and this is also in the order I finished them. So the book I started with and successfully finished was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, aka Victoria Schwab, you know, that is the same author. I was so excited to finally pick this up, and I really enjoyed it. Give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Cannot wait to go find the other 2 books of this trilogy and just dive into them, because I love her how she does her characters and how she does her world building, and how it's not simple, but it's not so complex that you just have to like constantly be going back and being like, wait, what does this do again, you know? It was a great story, it was a great adventure, and I also found an audiobook for this, so I was able to listen to it at night when I just could not seem to look at a book anymore. And I think I actually read this in like 1.5 days, I think. I want to say I either started this Thursday and finished it Friday or Saturday, but I can't remember. You'd have to look back at the videos. Anyway, this rightfully completed the challenge of reading a book that you were so excited to get and you just never picked it up, because honestly, that's what happened here. The next book I read completed the challenge of reading a graphic novel, and I don't have the physical copy, so I read it on my iPad, on iBooks, but the graphic novel I read was Saga. I don't know the author, unfortunately, but you know, this is what it looks like. And I really enjoyed Saga. It was only the first volume, and I actually kind of want to purchase the others. I think I'm gonna get into this series, and I think I might start reading more graphic novels because of this. I was really happy that they did this challenge, because it definitely, well, first of all, it's very quick to read. It's a graphic novel, you know, that's the point. It goes by really fast. But plot-wise, it was also made it very like fun to read and still went by really quick, you know. It didn't feel like it just ended and was like, whoa, that's it. No, it felt like a full story, and I really enjoyed that, and I can't wait to pick up the 2nd volume. The next book I finished was McBee by William Shakespeare. This was also a really short one that I was able to pick up very quickly. Unfortunately, I didn't feel myself enjoying it as much as I've enjoyed other Shakespeare plays. I think I ended up giving this like a 3 out of 5 stars maybe on Goodreads. I'm not really sure, but honestly, I don't know. For how popular it is with Shakespeare plays, I just don't think it was my favorite. The plot was, you know, a little choppy in my opinion, and I think it was just kind of difficult on how much transitioning there wasn't. Like, it just seems like things happened. And of course, with the Shakespearean style, and also with how they used to write plays back then, a lot of it is more telling than showing, unfortunately, and I prefer showing as opposed to telling. You know, I prefer to figure it out myself, or like, you know. So, it is a play though, and, you know, it is Shakespearean, like I said. So, I did like it. It's just, I don't think it's gonna make one of my favorite plays of his. unfortunately. And this was to complete the challenge of free choice, which is just, you know, reading whatever book you want to read. Up next, I decided to try and pick up Escaping from Houdini again, because I had started it a long time ago and then just for some reason got so distracted by other books. But I am happy to say that I did end up finishing it. I listened to an audiobook of it, which helped a lot more since there was just so much going on at the time that it was just so hard for me to just read. And I really, really enjoyed it. I was able to finish it pretty quickly. And I listened to it through Audible because I ended up purchasing my Audible account again just so that I could listen to audiobooks, because I knew if I didn't do that I wouldn't have been reading. Unfortunately, that's the truth. This was to complete the challenge of reading a predicted 5-star read, and that's definitely what I gave this book. I highly, highly, highly recommend this series if you have not checked it out yet. I'm sure I have talked about it in many videos. The first book is called Stalking Jack the Ripper, and it's by Kiri Maniscalco, and I highly, highly recommend that you get this. This isn't the cover. This is the cover of Escaping from Houdini. I never put it back on because you know, I'm me. The next book was actually a somewhat predicted 5-star read, but it was for the challenge of a host's 5-star read recommendation. So they gave 5 stars to a book, each of them. And so the book I ended up choosing was The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. And you know what? I surprisingly fell in love with the plot of this book. It took so many turns that I was not expecting, and I love that about stories when they can just surprise you so much. Like, you predict things and then it actually doesn't happen. It's like, whoa, that's great. And I also gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I listened to it almost completely on Audible. I know I read like a few chapters or so by myself, but I was mainly just listening to it on Audible while I was in the shop or here doing laundry and other things like that. And yeah, highly recommend this book if you haven't read it yet. And I think I may be attempting to pick up the second one. And now is the part of the video where we move on to the disappointments. The books that I did not complete for the readathon. And the first one was Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wine. I didn't actually end up starting this book. This was meant to complete the challenge of reading an adult book, and I just never got to it because that was around the time where I just started burning out and just felt like I needed sleep more than reading, which is sad coming from me. The next book I also did not finish was Aurora Rising. I know, I am so upset because this was the group book, meaning that I was not able to join in their live show, which was their last live show ever, because Bibliothon's now officially over. Yeah. But we'll talk more about that in a second. And then the final book that I started, actually, but definitely did not even get 20 pages in, was The Midnight Dance by Nikki Katz. This was to complete the cover by challenge. And yeah, this was obviously a cover by. I had no idea what this book was about. I am happy to say that since I started it, I wanted to continue it because it actually did kind of pull me in a little bit with what the plot was about and everything. And I'm currently still reading it, and the reading rush, once known as the Booktubeathon, has started. So we're on day 1 now, going into day 2, and that's the book I decided to pick up because it actually can fit a challenge for it. So I decided to not just leave it to the side and instead keep it, and I would just push another book that I had meant for the challenges to the side. Which brings me to the next portion of this video. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be videoing anything for the reading rush like I did for this readathon. Mainly because my week is about to become insane. I will be getting my wisdom teeth taken out Friday. So I already know I'm not gonna read all the 7 books I planned on for the readathon, and I also know that I'm probably gonna be passed out on my bed back home like for 3 days. I might do a little bit of vlogging beforehand, but I'm also trying to get sets and sets ready for our dress rehearsal and opening night, which is Wednesday, for some shows. So I am currently super busy. I was also put in charge of the shop for the next 2 days because all of our professors who normally work in the shop are all out of town doing different things, and they trust me, apparently. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the Bibliothon as much as I did. It's so sad to see it go, but it's so understandable as to why all the hosts came up with that decision and, you know, realized that, hey, probably wasn't going to last forever just because, you know, people have different things that they have to worry about, like the real world. But it was a fun time reading. I'm so glad and honestly so pleased with how well I did. I ended up doing 5 books out of the 8, so I think that's pretty well, especially in 9 days. You know, 5 books in 9 days, for some people, like me, is this huge challenge, and so I'm really proud of myself and my progress, and I will definitely not just keep those books to the side forever. I'm going to be picking them up soon, maybe even after reading rush is over. I'm not sure, but that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.